Greetings, fellow vermicomposters. In this video, just going to talk about a pre-harvesting method that I use. This is the same bin that I posted about previously. It's almost done. A little bit of cardboard still remaining that has to be broken down, but for the most part, it's just about done. Just gonna do a routine maintenance here. A lot of healthy worms, a lot of cocoons, a lot of little babies. So this is just about done, ready to be harvested. Just some leftover scraps there, but not much. So what I like to do to make harvesting easier, try to reduce as much worms in the finished vermicompost as I can. This is also good moisture level for the worms, but it's a little bit too wet to be placed through a sifter. So whichever method you choose to harvest your castings or your worms, the less worms you have in the finished vermicompost that you're dealing with, the better. It'll go by much quicker. So what I like to do, still doing a routine examination here. There's really a lot of worms here. I actually haven't fed them in 2 weeks. So they're a little bit spread out, trying to get to any scraps they can find at this point. A lot of big, healthy red wigglers. More cocoons, more babies. So what I like to do, to make harvesting a little bit easier, I push all of this into one side. All the finished compost I push into one side. Try to clear out as much as I can. This little plastic thing I use as a marker, so I don't forget where I last placed the food, or so I don't forget which area to work on next. So. Has that nice earthy smell. More cocoons, more babies. Some of these babies are growing quickly as well. So I push this as far. I try to use about half the bin for this. You don't want to remove all the castings. I always leave a little bit in the bottom, or leave a little bit lying around, just because the worms are more comfortable in those areas with the most microbial activity. So now we've cleared out about a third of the bin, and gonna add some brand new fresh bedding. So this is what it looks like now. I'm going to reach over add some food. These are banana peels, which my worms really love. And a few more. Now I use dry bedding just because the food that I'm adding, the banana peels, are very moist. So by themselves they add a good deal of moisture. I'm also going to use my spray bottle and spray just a few sprays of water. And the goal is for all the worms, or as many, I shouldn't say all, but as many worms as possible, to migrate over to the new bedding. This could take quite some time, but they'll get to it eventually because there's really not much food left for them in the old bedding, and also they don't like being surrounded by their own droppings. And once the majority of worms have moved on to the new bedding, I can use the light method, or if it's dry enough I can even use a sifter to separate the worms from their castings here in the finished bedding. So that's it. I'll check in on it again in about a week. Usually takes anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks for most of the worms to migrate to the new food source. And this should help me harvest the worms and castings quicker and more efficiently in about 2 to 3 weeks. As always, join wormforums.com and talk more about worms.